Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, February 21st meeting of the Transportation Committee. And I'll call this meeting to order. First on the list, I do want to welcome our newest member, the Penfield town staff, and that's Amy Owens. She's our junior engineer. She's at the helm over there at the computer tonight. We also have town staff Sarah Waterman here, our sustainability engineer, Linda Cummings, of course, from the planning department, and Eric Tate here from DPW. So with that, I also thank our board, Laurie, Mary, Tim, for joining us tonight. Before you have before you the approval of minutes of November 15th, 2022. Is there any additions, deletions? Any board? Can I have a motion we approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second the motion.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So, next order of on the agenda is the committee discussion. First on the agenda is the 5 Mile Line Road and the Liberty Street traffic concern, and this is a follow-up, and I'll turn it over to Sarah.
Sure. So, we've been in contact with Monroe County Department of Transportation and brought the concern of the intersection, both the difficulty with turning left out of Liberty onto 5 Mile Line, as well as backup during specific hours of the day. Previously, we discussed this, and we had sent a letter to the county. At this point, they have followed up and said that they can potentially do a study with New York State DOT for that area, but the concern is that if they change any of the timing for the 441 5 Mile Line traffic light, that would cause more of a backup on 441, which is a higher traffic road. So if there's anything they can do in the future, they'll reach back out to us. But for them to do the follow-up study, it would take at least several months, and we're still kind of in that timeline.
Okay. Board, any discussion?
No, it's just like she said, it's difficult to get out there, and sometimes people don't read that "do not block"
I know.
roadway sign. Yeah.
I use that, that's my exit
Yes. Yep,
quite a
yep.
bit, so I'm well familiar with that concern, and peak times of the day especially.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
traffic is an issue. Okay. Thank you, Sarah.
So did Mark ask them to do that study, or we just kind of left it hanging? Obviously, they could do it, but did he say to go ahead and do it, or to not bother?
They said that they would do the study, so it wasn't we needed to ask for it.
Okay.
But it's still with it. I think it's like been a month and a half since then, so it hasn't been that long.
Yeah, December 28th. What Tom suggested. Okay. Well, but as you've noted, anything they come up with there that's going to change anything at the intersection, the state's not going to go for it. So
That's likely.
other than there's not much they're going to come up with other than say, yeah, it does exist. People are not obeying the sign.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing that's helped a little bit is the crosswalk there with the lighted. I mean, people seem to be trying mostly to slow down when there's pedestrians in there. So I'm noticing that, but I still wait. When I use it quite a bit walking, I still make sure that everybody sees it on both sides, because it is a tough,
Well, you have
busy
to
road.
be careful with those things, because not everybody pays attention
I
to them.
know.
And the more frequently you have them, the more people tend to not obey them. But
Yeah.
when it's something new like that, then they're like, okay.
And that was just installed a couple years ago
Yep.
from the TAP grant that we received. Well, the county received.
correct? Yes. Thank you. Okay. So I guess, unfortunately, that we're going to move ahead. We'll keep an eye on that. Next item is the Willowhurst Drive and the Hillary Lane, the stop sign request follow-up for there. Sarah?
Yep. So with the Hillary Lane, Brentwood Drive, and Foxbourne Road, where Willowhurst intersects all of those, there was a concern in the center at Brentwood that people aren't stopping or looking at that four-way, and a request for a stop sign was made. We've previously done counts, and we were waiting on accident data. We, at this point, received the last accident data, and that was the only accident in the last 5 years was due to distracted driving. So at this point, generally the staff would not recommend putting in a stop sign at that intersection. It's also not something that you would expect at an intersection like that in the middle of a neighborhood, so we would generally recommend against it.
Sarah, was that accident at the intersection of Willowhurst and Hillary or Willowhurst and Brentwood?
It was, I don't remember off the top of my head which road it was in that grouping, but it was not at an intersection. It was actually with a stopped car on the street.
Okay. And I only ask, I know you mentioned both intersections, and I had received a phone call recently from a resident requesting that it be a four-way, all-way stop at Willowhurst and Brentwood. While I mentioned that I'd bring that up with this committee, he also had kind of a subsequent request to look at some of the vegetation at that intersection and to see if anything could be done to help improve the sight distance, of which we, and just last week, did have a crew go out and remove a large overgrown bush at the corner after talking to the kind of that property owner. So I think that has helped. I'm not going to say that the intersection is perfect or that nothing additional may be needed. There is a large hedgerow on that northwest corner that may need some trimming. It's far enough away from the road, but just because of the size and the density of it, you can't see through certain times of the year. Right now you can because the leaves are gone, but I know our own DPW crews are kind of looking at that particular intersection to see what can be done.
Continuing to check sight distance, I think, is perfect, and I think it's worthwhile long-term because residents are also concerned about speeding, that we request enforcement.
Agreed. Yeah. Discussion? Anything?
Good ideas.
Thank you. Agreed. Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate that. Next on the agenda here is the Qualtrough Road and Hallmark Road, the dual arrow sign request. And this, again, is a follow-up, Sarah.
Yep. So we, at multiple meetings, have talked about the Qualtrough intersection with Hallmark Road and City View Drive. There's a request for a sign to be installed at Hallmark Road. We, as a committee, agreed that was not necessary due to the alignment and the surrounding area. And that caused us to look at the intersection of City View Drive because there currently is a dual arrow sign there. At the last meeting, we determined that it was appropriate for the DPW director, Eric, to follow up and check the reflectivity on that sign. He has done that, and it meets reflectivity requirements. So until it no longer meets those requirements, it will remain in place.
Okay.
Or if the sign gets knocked down in the meantime, we would not replace it at that point. Yep.
Okay.
Sounds fair to me. Any questions?
No,
Okay.
that works.
Good, I remember that.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Sarah, next on the item, number 4, is the Baird Road speeding concern. And I know I've heard from a resident on this, and this is why this is on the agenda tonight, about that intersection. So take it away, Sarah.
So there were 2 concerns with Baird Road. One was speeding between Atlantic and Wayland Road. That we last had a count in 2020, and the ADT was 1,099 cars per day, and the 85th percentile speed was 39 miles per hour in a 35 zone. With that, that's the speeding side of it. The other side of the resident concern was the intersection of Wayland and Baird, and that people are running the 4-way stop and that the flashing lights are not always on. that is a county intersection. So we have reached out to the county and given them the concern, but it was also noted that those flashing lights are solar powered, so they may not be on at all times of the day, and there is still appropriate signage subsequent to those lights.
Okay. I have been trying to go down there more and more certain times of the day to see if I can see people. It seems to me most of the times when I'm in there that people are being pretty respectful about the four-way stop. But then again, I'm not there all the time, so I can feel for that and everything. I think if we just, when I'm having my monthly meeting now with Lieutenant Alberti, that's an area, I've mentioned that before as well to him, a couple areas, the hot spot, and that's another area I will have him put a concentration on. So that's probably what mostly we can do, unless anyone has any other suggestions or concerns on that. Yeah.
Well, it's unclear when he writes that, well, I think it was a mail, but whoever wrote it.
The resident.
Whether or not they're just coming to a rolling stop or actually. And that's what happens at a four-way stop. If you see there's nobody there,
Yeah.
people don't tend to stop. And the solar is for the eastbound direction, and that gets blocked by those pine trees by the cemetery quite often. And in spite of better technology, I think the battery is getting a little weak, and particularly in the dark days of winter, it's often not working.
How often do we change those?
Well, it's a county.
It's a county. The county would change them rather. I mean, how often
When
do
it
they?
becomes, now we did, back when Jim was around, even when it was off, there was still good compliance with it. So I looked at it a couple times because I brought it up to him several times, and there was good compliance even when it wasn't the flasher to bring it.
Okay.
So and it's double posted, right? There's two stop signs, stop ahead, and it's not that people don't see the signage. They're probably just ignoring it. And that often happens when you have a four-way and you can see there's nobody coming. They just roll through it, which is why in other locations it's not worth putting one up because you get non-compliance, so.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay. So we'll keep an eye on that. Sarah, next item, Creek Streets, another speeding concern. Sarah?
Yep, Creek Street, there's a speeding concern and a discussion of difficulty crossing the road due to that concern. We brought this concern to the county DOT because Creek Street is a county road. It has also been brought to the Monroe County Sheriff's Office as it would be an enforcement concern.
Right. And also, the resident reached out to me. I also encouraged them as well to directly to call the sheriff by 911 if they're seeing this happening. When again, I think it's just more education about slowing people down. Unfortunately, that seems to be what this is all about. So,
Which end of Creek Street? The one from Plank to the curve, or
I
from the
believe it
curve
was
to
near
Atlantic?
Meriwether?
It's Mary Hill Drive and Creek Street.
Yeah, which I think is, that's
All right.
south of the curve, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know where
I think
that,
it's south of the curve and north of,
towards Atlantic, Browncroft?
about there. Nope, you're right there.
Yeah.
Yep, so you see Mary
It's
Hill.
such a nice straightaway.
It's mid-block.
It's easy. I find myself, because I cut down there in the morning on my way to work, and I'll look down, I'm like, holy crap, I'm doing 45. And I'm like, yeah, let's back it up here before I meet our friendly neighborhood sheriff, right? But it's that straightaway that's so easy
Yeah.
to just, and you're moving along with traffic. So all of a sudden, everybody's behind me doing 40, so they're good.
I know. I hear you.
Yeah. And you're right, that's part of why we referred it to the sheriff's office, because that does help.
Yeah.
And that's another one I will keep on his radar.
Okay.
to talk to.
Oh, good to know. I'll do 35 now. I'll be good.
This is speeding is a common a common concern. And I was at a supervisors meeting the other day, and that was one of the topics that came up was how fast people are driving, and not just in Penfield, in all our towns. So it's noticing.
All
It's
over the
noticeable.
place. I'm seeing them. I'm watching them run red lights through intersections. I'm like, that was
Right.
all over when I was in California. They were doing that like
Right.
that's normal. But here I was very surprised. I'm thinking, oh, that person must be from California because they're running the red light.
Right. I
think
I'm
we
never
just-
in that big of a hurry.
I think we decided that about Qualtrough, too.
Yes,
To have the police or the
Yeah.
sheriff's presence might help to,
on the Qualtrough. Mm-hmm.
Now, when you say that their presence, are they putting their speed trailer out?
no, I meant.
Enforcement.
actually
Enforcement.
Sitting there and
Being
radar
there. Yep.
people's.
I mean, when you
I was-
talk about education of their speed, the speed trailer is much more effective at that than enforcement, right? Because then people can get a visual clue of how fast they're going. But you don't
Right.
want it up, you move it around,
Speed
and that's
trailer.
why the speed trailers, in either direction, you can move it around, you can move it to the south, you can move it to the north, move it to a different road.
Right.
And then people are in awareness mode a little bit more of how fast they actually are traveling.
Well, now that we're getting towards spring, that's a good rule to remember. The
I mean,
rules.
this time of year, we're starting to put together our list, of locations where we've received requests for the speed trailer, so certainly going to be
Good.
adding a number of these to that list.
Yep.
Good, great. Okay, thank you for that. All right, and here, once again, the next one, number 6 on our agenda here is Harris Road. Again, another speeding concern. Sarah, this one?
Yep. So we reached out to County DOT at the beginning of January, and they acknowledged the concern and let us know that there would be a capital project for Harris Road coming in 2028/30 between 441 and Atlantic, and that there is hopes that that would help improve the concerns. And again, that's a county road.
Because of the capital project, that's going to be slowing people down just because of the work that's being done, or is it because
I think the improvements
to the road?
they're hoping
A little
will help.
Well, I will say there won't be any traffic calming measures that'll
Okay.
be particularly implemented by that, other than maybe some trees or other things, which none of which are going to be in the right of way. The project, he referenced some of the older studies, but was there a study done for the Salt Road project? Did you ever see that?
I don't recall.
The similar parallel between Plank and Atlantic, the project that was just completed last year. During the design, there would have been a not a traffic study, but we would have probably counted speeds. And I could probably tell you within a mile per hour or two what they came up to be, even though I don't have the data. Pretty typical that people are going more than 35, and 42 to 44 is what is a comfortable speed on those kind of roads. And Harris has the same, a little bit more terrain on Harris than you have on Salt Road, but adding shoulders and other things like that are not going to slow people down. May give them a little greater comfort, but and you can't introduce any curves or anything like that that's going to be part of it. So I don't think there's much to do other than I've said it before, maybe the 35 is too slow, and that's not what people necessarily want to hear. But if the posted speed is 40 or 45, then people are following it, and you don't have it artificially low, because that's what people are comfortable at. And I think if you looked at any one of those north-south roads, Harris, Salt, what's the other one further out? Jackson, all of them are.
Gloria Drive.
Yeah.
Gloria?
Yeah. Gloria doesn't quite have as much traffic and kind of dead ends there, but it doesn't, you're going to see probably the same. If you measured them all, they're all going to be within a mile or two. And that's so they may change the posting as part of that. Did they change it on Salt?
That I don't remember. I don't believe they were going to. I'm not positive.
Usually doesn't go over real well.
No.
You know what the only thing about those roads, it's mostly really isn't the people that live out there, because you're not cutting through on a lot of those.
Well, and I think
get to.
the capital improvement project may help if they're improving shoulders, they may help with residents walking on the street,
Oh, sure.
which was
from
brought up as a
pedestrian,
concern.
Yes.
Yes, it was.
So that in that way, it might improve.
Oh, it certainly will.
But we are limited both with it being a county road and with the alignment of the road of what changes can be made. In the email that the resident sent, they did mention the concern of the sheriff's office not being out there very often, so that may be something that if that's a resident desire, we can request that enforcement, because there's also a concern with a break-in at that point. So those kind of overlap.
Sure.
That's something I can bring up. Okay. I can put that on my agenda too, to speak with them. Okay. Questions, or anyone? Thank you, Tim, for that too, report on that. Next on the agenda is the Browncroft Boulevard and Panorama Trail, New York State DOT response letter on that. Sarah.
Sure. So this one, quite some time ago, it was brought up that residents were hoping to have a left turn lane at Browncroft Boulevard and Panorama Trail. The letter that we got from the state DOT explained that they reviewed crash records, and left turn delay study was conducted, and they found it to not be appropriate to have a left turn at that intersection at this time. And we just wanted to update the committee on that.
Okay.
They should sit there in the morning when you get behind somebody and all of a sudden you think you're going straight and there's 15 cars behind you and they turn on their directional to turn.
No.
Like, really? I would have been over there, but, yeah.
I feel that every evening.
Okay. All right. You feel me.
Yep.
All right. It's frustrating.
It can be.
It is. All right. All right. So we got that response done. Thank you. All right. Number 8 on our agenda here is Route 250 between State and Plank Road, New York State DOT response letter on that.
A number of residents this past year had a petition to the state to reduce the speed limit between Abington and State Road. Abington is about left of the cursor, just south. So about that area, just slightly south of that to Merchner. They requested a reduction in the speed limit all the way to Abington. It slows down just south of State Road at this time. The letter that we received was that after conducting a study reviewing site distance and 3 years of crash data, it was determined that at this time it is not necessary to reduce the speed limit or to change the centerline pavement markings. And that's just an update from the letter that we got from the county, for the state, sorry.
Sarah, what is the speed limit on there now?
I believe it goes from 50 down to 40.
Down to 40.
Yeah. And I believe just north of Bainbridge Lane is where it goes down, about halfway between there and State Road.
Yep.
And
And it's reduced at that point because that's entering the village of Webster.
Yeah, and I think on the other side of State Road, it goes down to 30. But you're just keeping with all the traffic, because I've been doing 50 on that from, in by the plaza there and the post office. It turns into 50 up right there at the intersection of, I think it's Wayland, or is it Jackson? I don't even know which one.
I believe going south, it's 50 at Plank, which I believe is the next intersection. Is that what you're talking about?
No, it's 50 down below that even.
Oh, absolutely. It's 50 all the
Yeah.
way down to Wayland. That's
Wayland,
correct.
yeah, okay.
Or just before Wayland, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a slow driver. I'm not driving, I'm not driving 50, that's for sure.
Most of that area is mixed use, so as more development comes in, there may be a determination that it's necessary to reduce, but at this time, that's what the county has it at.
State.
Sorry, I keep doing that. The state, thank you.
Okay.
All right, so that's, so with the residents are, I assume, or I don't, are we to get back to them on the New York State response letter from the DOT, or does the DOT get back to those?
I'll have to go back and check on the email that was sent.
Okay.
I don't
To those-
recall if it was also shared with the residents at that time.
Okay, so if not, we want to make sure we do share that along,
Absolutely.
same with the response letter on the Browncroft Boulevard as well. Good, okay,
I know typically the state does respond back to the residents directly, but
okay,
can certainly check on that.
Yeah, this letter was written to the assembly person, Jennifer Lund.
yes, it was.
So she must have got the complaint maybe through her office, so.
I believe
Did
that's
we
where
get
they
it
brought the
directly?
petition.
We got it directly as well?
No, I believe the Jennifer Lunsford received it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, any other questions on that? We have no held items. Do we have any new business before us? We have no new business. Then we're getting, our next meeting will be on Tuesday, March 21st, 2023, right here. And if nothing else, I will adjourn this meeting at 5:26. And I want to thank you all for coming tonight. Have a very safe, drive safely home. Have a very safe evening. Thank you.